for admissions counselor in Santa Barbara. And so primarily my role is to help students understand kind of what you need to be eligible to transfer to a UC. Also sharing information on the transfer admission guarantee that we offer here, and supporting students while you're going through that application process. Just a little bit about myself and my background. I am an alumni of UCSB. I graduated as a first generation college graduate. And I really didn't have a lot of guidance during like the college application process. So when I want to thank you all for being here and taking advantage of resources like this. I know I definitely didn't attend anything like an application tutorial. So I just want to welcome you all and just want to say thank you all for having me in this space. This tutorial is going to go through the UC application. So like Zaida mentioned, there is one application for all 9 campuses. Most of this is going to be applicable to any campus that you apply to. There is some UCSB specific information. And of course, there's some questions that I'm not able to answer regarding other campuses, but we are going to go through a tutorial of what the UC application looks like and just some tips of what to kind of look for when you're going through. I will do my best to try and answer questions in the chat as they come in. And if not, I'll definitely have some time in the end to go through questions as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. First and foremost, just an overview of what we're kind of going to go through. One is just like what you need to know about the transfer process, the general transfer eligibility, how we select applicants when we're reviewing applications. We'll go through just very quickly major preparation, what that is here at UCSB. We will go into depth on the UC transfer application, what that transfer application looks like, the 7 different sections as well. And we'll make sure to cover some important dates and deadlines that you should be keeping in mind if you are planning on applying this upcoming fall. Now, just in terms of what you need to know when it comes to transferring, this is going to apply to UCSB transfer process. This also applies to most other UC campuses, although some of them have slightly different requirements and timelines. So just in terms of what you need to know for UCSB, one of the most important things to know is that we only admit students who are at the junior level transfer standing. And what that means, or what we call a junior level transfer, is a student who has at least 60 semester units of transferable credit. So anywhere between 60 to 90 semester units. If you have that, you'll be considered what's called a junior level transfer student. Really, really important to know all of the requirements that you need to transfer do have to be completed by the spring before transfer. So for those of you who are applying this upcoming fall for fall 2026, just keep in mind that spring semester before, that's when it's going to be really important to have your full requirements met, to have those 60 units met, to have the rest of those UC requirements met. So you cannot use the summer before transfer. All of them do have to be completed by that spring term. Like I mentioned, basically you're going to be applying about 1 year before your classes actually start for the fall term. We do only have fall term admissions here at UCSB, so we only admit 1 time per year. And as a transfer applicant, you're going to be evaluated using your self-reported college and exam credits. So on the UC application, probably the most time-consuming section is going to be the academic history section, where you're going to be asked all the classes that you've taken, your academic history, AP exams that you may have taken, all of your college courses. So it's all going to be self-reported. So it is very important to be very honest on that application. Once we admit students, we are going to ask for official finalized transcripts, and we're going to match them and make sure that it matches the UC application. So it's just very important to take your time on there, make sure that you're including all grades, even if it's a withdrawal or an academic renewal. Maybe it doesn't impact your GPA now. You're still going to need to include all of your academic history on there from all colleges attended. As a student, you do have to select a major within one of our 3 colleges that we offer here at UCSB. I won't go too into detail on this. I want to focus more on just the general UC application. But here at UCSB, if you are interested in this specific campus, we do have 3 colleges. College of Letters and Sciences, which is a very broad college, most traditional college probably. College of Engineering that hosts 5 engineering majors and our computer science major as well, and a very small college of creative studies, which is a very, very intensive research college that has a more one-on-one focus with a faculty mentor. So that's just an overview of our majors and our colleges here at UCSB. Now, in terms of what we call UC Junior transfer eligibility, we have what we call eligibility and we also have selection. And I want you to think of this kind of in two different ways. Eligibility is going to be what you need at minimum to be eligible to transfer. When it comes to selection, that's going to be how do we select students? What makes you a more selective candidate, more competitive applicant? So when it comes to minimum eligibility, these requirements are what you need at baseline to just be considered for admissions to UCSB and to any UC campus. So this one does apply to all UC campuses. So what we screen for is going to be that you've completed what's called the 7-course pattern. And 7-course pattern, just think of it kind of broadly. So it's going to be kind of like your general education, 2 courses in English composition, 1 course in mathematics, that can be statistics, calculus, college level algebra, linear algebra, and then 4 courses from at least 2 of these areas right here. So as long as you cover two areas of these with 4 classes, you'll be good to go on that requirement. So that can be a mix of sociology, psychological and brain sciences. Maybe you're a bio student, you want to take some bio classes, environmental studies classes. Maybe you want to take some arts classes. So as long as you're taking 4 classes that cover 2 of those areas, you're good to go. So that's why it's very similar to your general education. For California residents, we do recommend a 2.4, or we do require a 2.4. We also require a 2.8 for non-California residents in your UC transferable coursework. And like I mentioned, we only admit students who are at the junior level transfer. So at least 60 semester units, 90 quarter units if you're coming from the quarter systems of UC transferable credit. Now, of those 60 semester units, sometimes I know I did as a student, I took some classes as pass, no pass. Just keep in mind only 14 semester of those units can be taken for pass credit or for that pass grade in order to reach the 60 semester unit minimum. So you just want to make sure if you're taking pass, no pass classes, that is completely okay. You just want to be cautious of how many you're taking and try your best not to take more than 14. And most of the UC campuses have what's called major preparation, or what that means is for a specific major that you're thinking of applying to, you might have some extra requirements. So for us, some of our selective majors include like our biological sciences, physics, economics, computer science, engineering. Basically, for those majors, on top of just this minimum eligibility, you also need some additional courses. I won't go too into depth on that and all the courses that you need, just because that is a lot of information and a lot of different requirements for specific majors, but I'll definitely make sure to link where you can find that on our admissions website. And we ourselves also have ongoing webinars on specific majors and all of that stuff here as well. Now, in terms of exam credits, if any students do have those from high school, maybe AP exams or IB exams, you want to include that as well on your UC application because you will be receiving units for those that can apply to your minimum eligibility and will give you units here at UCSB. So really important, like I mentioned, include anything and everything from your academic records so that you can receive some credit for it. Now, going into the UC application, as was mentioned, there's one application for all 9 campuses. So there's no limit on the amount of campuses that you're able to apply to. If you want to apply to one campus, that's awesome. If you want to apply to all 9 campuses, it's really awesome as well. There's no limit. You can apply to as many campuses as you want. We are going to go over fees and just how much they cost. They do cost $80, but some students may be eligible for a fee waiver if you qualify based on your income and based on your family size. So we'll talk a little bit about that and how you can qualify for the fee waiver and how many campuses you're able to apply to if you do have that fee waiver. So that's just some options. But most important to take away from this is just there's one application that you fill out that can be used for all 9 campuses. When it comes to starting your application, like I mentioned, 9 campuses, 1 application, want to make sure to create your account. We'll go through the specific slides of how to select the different campuses. Each of the applications, so if you did want to apply to all 9, they would each be, there is a separate application fee. So for each campus you want to apply to, there's going to be the application fee of $80. But like I mentioned, if you qualify for that fee waiver, it'll cover 4 campuses. So just when you're creating the account, you're going to want to make sure that you go to UC Apply, get that application started. And for fall 2026 applications, the application is going to open up pretty soon on August 1st. So you'll be able to take a look at it, see the different sections of the UC application, and we'll go over more thoroughly just the timeline of the application as well. Now, once you do start that application, it's going to first ask you for your term and level. So term is going to be, when do you hope to start at the University of California? For most students, if you're planning on applying this upcoming fall, that date would then be fall 2026. You're also going to be selecting your application level. So for students, you're going to be making sure to select that transfer applicant. And then it's going to ask you to determine what level standing you are as you're coming to transfer in. So it'll show you either junior level transfer, sophomore level transfer, or senior level transfer. And you're going to want to make sure to select that junior level transfer, especially if you're considering applying to our campus, because we do only admit junior level transfer students. That is a minimum requirement. So you just want to make sure that you're answering the portions of the application as accurately as you can. Some students do wonder what's the difference between junior level and senior level transfer standing. Um, for students who have only taken classes, maybe you've only taken classes at Berkeley City College or at other community colleges, don't worry about going into senior level standing. Really, the only students who need to worry about senior level standing are going to be students who have attended other universities or have attended other UCs as well. So there are some specific campuses that do accept a senior level standing. I'm not remembering them off the top of my head, so I would have to look that up for you. But just know each of the different campuses do have different kind of requirements. Some of them accept sophomore, some of them accept senior, but all of them do accept junior level transfers. Before you do start on the application, just some important tips. You want to make sure that you're clicking save and continue at the bottom of each page and before you do take a break so that you save your progress. There is a 20-minute timeout, and basically what that means is that if you're sitting on your computer, maybe you leave your computer for 20 minutes, it's going to lock you out, and that's just for your own security. We wouldn't want, if you're working on it at school or on campus and you leave it open on just a computer, we wouldn't want somebody else to work on that application or have access to that information. So just to note, there is a 20-minute timeout. Once you do complete a section, you're going to see a check mark that the section has been completed. And when you are working on that application, you are going to be needing your household income, your family information, and your unofficial transcripts from all of the institutions that you have attended. It's also really helpful to have a draft of your personal insight questions. So there is a personal insight question section. We'll go into that a little bit more and what those questions look like, but it is just helpful to have a draft of those to have an idea of what kind of ideas you would want to talk about in those PIQs. All right, I do see some questions in the chat. Is there any way to override that for students with disabilities who need more time? And is the application process the same for international students? So to address the first question, if you are a senior level standing student, meaning you have above 90 units with some college credit from either a UC campus or some upper division credit from another university, then unfortunately you would not be eligible for admissions at UCSB. If you're, say you've only taken community college credit at Berkeley City College or other community colleges, and maybe it just took a longer time, that's completely okay. If you only have community college credit, you'll always be junior level standing. But unfortunately, I haven't heard of any accommodations that have been made for students who are in senior level standing. For the next question, is the application process the same for international students? Yes, so you are going to see the same application for international applicants. So it is the same. There's just an increased application fee, so it's going to be $95 instead of $80. Very good question. All right, so one of the first sections on the UC application is going to be the About You section. And basically the About You section is just going to go into depth on your personal information. So what is your name? Do you have a lived name or preferred name? Your contact information, your demographics. So on this section, you just want to make sure you're double checking everything. All of your information is accurate. We'll use this information when we're reaching out to you, when we're giving out admissions letters. So just really important to make sure that everything is accurate. None of this information on here is going to impact your admissions decision. Doesn't matter if you have a live name, what your name is, your demographic information. This information is not going to be impacting your admissions decision. It is just so that we can collect data about our applicant pool and so that we know how to kind of address you when we are sending out our admissions decisions and also contacting you regarding anything admissions related. All right, one of the next portions is going to be the citizenship and residency portion. So on here, once again, you just want to make sure that your information is accurate. It's going to ask for your country of citizenship. For any students who may be undocumented applicants or students who do have DACA status, no selection is an available and proper response that you're able to choose. And if you do select no response, applicants are not going to be asked about other questions regarding your permanent residency or visa status. So if you are unsure of what to put, just keep in mind no selection is a perfectly okay answer to put. So that is okay to put. If not, you can go ahead and select a country of citizenship. Go ahead and include your US Social Security number or your ITIN number. And then it is also going to ask about your California residency for admissions purposes. So it's going to go through some questions like if you graduated from a California high school, how long you've lived in California, how many years you've lived in California. So information in this section is not going to affect your admissions eligibility. But we do need to gather this information, one for tuition purposes and for admissions purposes as well. Now, the next portion is going to be the household portion, which is basically household and income. So in this section, we're going to ask who is living with you in your household, how many maybe you have other siblings, other dependents, other family members that are living with you in the home. So it's basically just going to ask your family size and also your family income. So this is the information that we'll use when we're determining which students are able to get a fee waiver. So depending on the amount of people in your family and the amount of income that you make, if you have a higher financial need, then you may be eligible for that fee waiver. That will cover 4 of the UC applications, cost of 4 UC applications. So that is going to be taken from this page right here. This page is not going to determine your financial aid, your official financial aid that you receive at UCSB. It's really just used for that fee waiver. For financial aid, you want to make sure you're submitting either the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act, whichever one you're able to submit, so that you can be reviewed for financial aid at any of the campuses that you're hoping to apply to and hoping to attend in 2026. All right, you're then going to go to one of the fun parts of the applications, which is choosing your campus and major. Like I mentioned, you're able to apply to as many campuses as you'd like to. If you are a student who's thinking about doing the transfer admission guarantee, you want to make sure that you're also applying to that campus on the general UC application. So those 2 applications for the transfer admission guarantee or the TAG program that we offer, guaranteed admission for California community college students, that TAG application is separate from the UC application. So you want to make sure if you're a TAG student that you're submitting both of those applications and that you're applying on the UC application for the campus that you submitted a TAG to. Now you can keep coming back anytime before you submit your application. You can add more campuses, you can remove campuses, you can change your major at the different campuses. Like I mentioned, our application fee right now is $80 for domestic applicants, and it is $95 for international applicants as well. All right, when it comes to selecting a major, you're going to see the choose majors and you'll be able to go through each of your campuses and select the major that you want to apply to. Keep in mind, campuses have different names for different majors. For example, we have our psychological and brain sciences majors. Other campuses might just have psychology major. We have, biological sciences majors. Other colleges might have biology or might have different majors. So they're each called a little bit of different things. Doesn't mean you're not applying to something similar, but just keep in mind that name might change depending on the campus. Now, I do strongly, strongly recommend to also pick an alternate major. So you can see right here, this student was applying to UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, UC Santa Cruz. They have the option to choose their first choice major or their primary major, and they also have the option to choose an alternate major. I always recommend to select an alternate major on that UC application. At least here at UCSB, if we don't admit you into that first choice major, we will look at you for that second choice major, no questions asked, so you can still have another chance of being admitted to UCSB. So always, always, always select that alternate major on the UC application. If you're not really sure, you can always reach out to our admissions office, and definitely if you're applying to one of our more selective majors, we always recommend that you select an alternate major. You can review assist.org if anyone has used assist.org before. You can look at your specific requirements for your major at the designated campus. So you just want to make sure that you're even eligible to apply for one of the majors at UCSB. We wouldn't want you, applying for biological sciences here at UCSB, knowing that maybe you don't have the full requirements. So you just want to make sure you're doing your research, you're checking in with your counselors to make sure that you're eligible for that campus and for the major that you're interested in as well. Now, when it comes to searching for your major, you can search by the college or by the category as well. So right here, you can see they're looking at the different colleges: agricultural, natural resources, environmental studies, art, applied fine, performing and art history. So it's just a way to kind of separate the categories and find a major that you might be interested in. So you do want to make sure that you're looking at both that first choice major and also that alternate choice major. Like I mentioned, your application is first going to be reviewed for your first choice major. And if you're not admitted there, then we are going to be looking at your second choice major or your alternate choice major. Having an alternate choice major is not going to impact your admission into that first choice major at all. It's really just good to give you a backup in case maybe you missed a major preparation requirement, in case maybe we didn't have enough space. Typically, computer science is one of our most competitive majors, so we always recommend to do that alternate major. Selecting that alternate major is not going to hurt your chances of admission into that first major, but like I mentioned, it just gives you kind of that safety net and that second option, and another chance of admissions here if that first choice major does get full or is just particularly very competitive that year. If you are applying to UC San Diego, they do have separate colleges. I'm not going to go too into depth on the colleges. I'm not a UC San Diego rep, so I definitely don't want to give any misinformation, but there are different colleges at UC San Diego, and you want to make sure that you do rank them in the UC application. So you just want to make sure that you're doing your research on the different colleges, see which one you would want to prioritize over a different one. But what we do know is that the college selection is not going to impact your chances of admission. So I do recommend, if you're interested in a particular college or kind of want to know the difference, make sure that you're either getting in contact with their admissions office or doing your research on their admissions website, or taking advantage of anything else you might be able to. Now, students may be kind of aware of what is a transfer admissions planner. If students could raise their hand, you can put up a hand raise, or you can put it in the chat if you have heard of what's called Transfer Admissions Planner, or TAP. Now, the Transfer Admissions Planner is a really awesome tool that you can use. And basically what this tool is it's a tool where anybody can do this. You don't have to be going through the process of applying it, but basically this tool is a really awesome tool where you're able to input the classes that you've taken, input the classes that you're currently taking, input any classes that you have planned before transfer. And it's a really good tool that will help you see where you're at in terms of your progress for transferring. So you'll be able to see how many transferable units you have, if you met that English requirement, if you met the math requirement, if it looks like you'll be eligible for the transfer admission guarantee. So the Transfer Admissions Planner is a really important tool, and this is also where you're going to be submitting your transfer admission guarantee application if you're hoping on doing the tag. So if anyone's hoping on doing the tag and does not have a transfer admissions planner yet, I recommend to just get started on that. It'll save you time, and also you'll have access to seeing your own academic progress as well. Now, if you do have the transfer admissions planner, this information can also already be imported into the UC application. So you can just import that from the TAP account, and it'll kind of save you some time when you're going through the UC application. You just want to make sure that you're double checking that all of your courses and all of your grades were imported correctly. Or you can skip this step. You don't necessarily have to have a transfer admissions planner. You can just have that UC application, get that started and submit it. But I do recommend having the TAP account, just because it can save you more time and it can help you be proactive as well. Now, probably the longest section is going to be the academic history section. And in the academic history section, it's going to ask you for all of the different colleges that you have attended. So this would be Berkeley City College. This would be any other community colleges that you've attended in your area. But you want to make sure that you're listing everything, every college that you have attended. It is going to ask you, when did you start attending that college? So that start date is going to be the very first time that you took a class there. And that end date is going to be the last semester that you'll be in before you transfer. So for all students, it should be spring 2026. It is going to ask you if that college is your current or your most recent college. So if you're still taking classes there, you'll go ahead and put yes. It's going to ask for the grading system for all of our California community colleges. There's an A through F scale, so you don't typically have to worry about that. And like I mentioned, you want to make sure that you're including the very first, the very last terms, and enter all colleges or universities that you have attended or are going to be attending through spring 2026. If those classes are transferable, which means that they're listed on assist.org, it's going to kind of auto-populate into there once you start typing in the classes. So you do want to double check everything. But for any classes that are not transferable or any classes that are not on assist.org, you're going to have to enter that manually. All right, I see a question. What if the first time you took a class at community college was while you were in high school? Very good question. So all of those classes, very, very good question. All of those classes still need to be put into the application, and you'll put the start date as the semester that you took them in and the end date as whenever you're no longer going to that college. All right, very good question. Call it, yeah, concurrently enrolled students, or if you took community colleges and classes in high school, definitely include that on the UC application. All right, to continue, you want to make sure, so once you go through that first section, you put, all right, I started attending college this semester, I ended this semester. It's going to ask for all the terms that you were enrolled during that college. So you want to make sure that you're selecting the terms in which you actually took courses or are planning on taking courses. It's going to ask you if you have a degree. You do not need a degree to be able to transfer into a UC campus, but if you do have one, you can go ahead and list it there. If not, you can feel free to go ahead and put no degree. And then I see one more question. Does this change for students who are older? Like my very first college experience was 16 years ago. Yes, so thank you. That is also a very good question. You want to make sure to include your whole entire academic history. We have students who have imported input grades from many, many years ago. So you just want to input as much as you can. All right, once it comes to the course input section, you're going to want to make sure that you are entering your grades exactly as they appear on your transcript at the time of your application. So if you received an academic renewal, there's a you can go ahead and put course grade of AR. If it's a class that you are currently taking, that means that it's in progress and you'll go ahead and put IP. But this is going to be on the UC application, so you can use that as a reference if you're not necessarily sure what to put for the grade on the UC application. So on that UC app, when it comes to inputting your grades in your classes, you're going to go ahead and put in all of the courses that you have previously taken. You're going to input the courses that you are currently taking, and you're going to go ahead and input any courses that you are planning on taking from that spring before transfer. Very good question. Does an EW count extenuating or excuse withdrawal? Yes, so you are going to make sure to put everything that is on your academic transcript. All right, if you're a student who maybe you took a gap in your education, maybe there was a semester that you weren't taking classes, or maybe there was a few years that you weren't taking classes, whatever the circumstances might be, we understand that there's many different reasons for not taking classes, but there is going to be a section where it's going to ask, please tell us why you were not enrolled during this term. And that reasoning can be as simple as maybe you were working, maybe you were not sure about, what you wanted to do for your major, your academics, you wanted to take some time off from school. That is perfectly okay. So the reasoning can be very simple. Don't try to overthink it. And the gaps in education, at least here at UCSB, is not going to have a negative impact on your application. So we're really just looking at the time you applied, the fall term that you applied. If it looks like you have those requirements, if it looks like you have a strong GPA, it really doesn't matter if there was large gaps in your education beforehand, but it is going to be asking for an enrollment gap just so we can have some context as to what was happening. For that course input, once you finish putting everything in, it's going to go ahead and look like this. So you want to make sure that everything is accurate as it's reported on your transcript. So I always recommend that students have their unofficial transcripts pulled up if you can get a printed copy. And you can go ahead and cross-reference from the UC application to the transcripts just to make sure everything matches up. We always have students who maybe unfortunately input a class incorrectly on the UC application, and then it looks like they don't meet the full requirements, and then we're not able to admit them because on our end it looks like they're not meeting the requirements. So you want to make sure that you're inputting all the information as accurately as you can, and you really want to double check and make sure everything that you put on the UC application is everything you have on your transcript. All right, another good question. If I finish 60 credits by doing courses next summer upon doing courses in the fall and spring, do I still apply this year? So for our campus, we do require that the 60 units are completed by the spring, end of the spring semester. Other campuses may have different requirements. I'm not fully sure if any campuses will accept units for the summer, but at least for our campus, they do have to be completed by the spring. So I would just look into the specific campus you're interested in applying to. But I know at least for our campus, they do need to be completed by the spring. All right, going on to the next section. All right, I see there's a raised hand. If you could go ahead and put your question in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and answer it. But moving on to the minimum requirements, this is going to be a really important part of the UC application, and it's going to go through basically that 7-course pattern that I mentioned, the units that you need to transfer. So we'll just go through it very quickly. Basically, it's going to ask if you have finished the entry-level writing requirement. For all transfer students, you're going to put yes, because completing both of the English classes that are required to transfer, that will mean that you have completed the entry-level writing requirement. So you're going to go ahead and select yes. It is also going to ask, prior to transfer, will you be certified for the completion of the Intersegmental General Education Transfer Curriculum, or IGETC, or it's soon to be called CalGETC. So if you have completed that at your community college, go ahead and select yes. Keep in mind, it is not a requirement to transfer into a UC campus, but if you do have that the IGETC certification or CalGETC certification, that will waive you out of your general education requirements here at UCSB, but it is not a requirement to transfer. All right, I see some questions in the chat. If I take a total of 90 credits from community college and university, will I be considered junior transfer or senior transfer? What are the rules and what are some differences between junior and senior transfer? So that is a very good question. So basically, I don't want to go too into depth on this because it can get a little bit confusing. I can go ahead and follow up with you as a student, but basically, I'll try to keep it a little simple. Your lower division credits or your community college credits and any lower division university credits, they're going to be capped at 70 units. And then after those 70 units, we're going to add on to it any credits you receive from a UC campus or any upper division credits that you received from a university. So if you go over 90 with the combined lower division community college credits and upper division or UC credits, then you'd be considered what's called a senior level transfer student. So I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat so that you can reach out to me, and then we can take a look and see if you would be a senior level transfer student. All right, very good question, Evelyn. If I take a non-required class during the summer, can those credits still count towards the major? Yeah, so you can still take classes in the summer and you'll resend your transcript again once you have those final grades. And those will still give you credits that can count towards your major or just some credits that you'll need to graduate here at UCSB. What needs to be completed by spring is going to be your requirements. So the 7-course pattern, 60 units, any major requirements that you might have. But if there's anything that's non-required, you can definitely take it in the summer and still receive credit for that here. All right, going on to the English requirement. This is a very, very probably the most important requirement. So it's just going to ask if you've taken 2 transferable college courses in English composition. It's going to ask for the status of the first course. So if you've completed it, you're going to go ahead and select completed with a grade of C or better. If you are currently taking that first course, you'll go ahead and put in progress. And if you are planning on taking that first course, you'll go ahead and put planned. Now, if you're using an AP English exam for that English requirement, you want to make sure that you select none or not planned for that first English course. And then for that second English course, it does have to be a college course. So just keep in mind, For students who have both of the AP English exams, only one of them can be used for the English requirement. The other requirement does have to be an English class at your community college. All right, it's then going to ask for the status of the second course, so you can go ahead and put that you completed it with a grade of C or better, if it's currently in progress, if you're currently taking it, if it is planned, or if it's not planned or not completed. It's then going to go ahead and ask for the course that is, so you want to make sure that you're putting the correct course on there, and you can check on assist.org to make sure that it is transferable and matches our UC English requirement. And this is where it's also very important just to make sure that your coursework section matches the transcripts that you do have. All right, is the TAP required or just an option in making the process easier? TAP is not required, it's just an option that can help you track your progress. But if you are planning on doing the transfer admission guarantee or the tag, then that would be submitted through the TAP account. All right, so then you're going to go on to the 7 course patterns for the minimum requirements. So it's going to ask you if you completed your math class, if you've completed at least 4 courses in the subject area. So it's just going to ask that you've met your minimum requirements, and then it'll ask you to input the courses that you're using to meet those minimum requirements as well. Now, there is an additional academic information section. It's going to ask if you've ever been on academic probation. If you have it, it's going to ask for reasoning or some potential circumstances that were going on. But like I mentioned, we really prioritize like your current academic history. So we're going to be looking at what do you have right now? Do you have your requirements met? If your GPA is strong right now? So previous stuff will really not weigh negatively. We're just going to be looking at right now, how are you doing? What does your cumulative GPA look like right now? Do you meet the requirements? But that is a section on the UC application. If you've completed what's called a UC transfer pathway, this is not required. It's just a section here that we kind of want to use to gauge how many students are taking advantage of the pathway. Don't worry about it too much if you're not sure what the pathway is. Basically, it's something that the UC system has created for popular majors like anthropology. That basically means that students can complete the same recommended major preparation for all UC campuses, but not required, just helpful to know if you are following a transfer pathway. And that California State Student ID number can be left as blank. All right, there is an additional comment section. And in this comment section, you can explain to us anything unusual in your academic history. So if there was a break in attendance, if there was some poor grades during a particular course or year, maybe a class wasn't offered one semester that you needed to take it, or maybe the space filled up and you weren't able to take it at a different community college. So you just want to let us know anything that is unusual, and anything you'd kind of want to let us know if there was any gaps in your education, or anything you'd kind of want to let us know. If you do have any international coursework, this is where you can go ahead and input the grading scale as well. And the section is not required. It's just if you do have any additional comments, you can go ahead and leave them there. Now for the test score section, this is where you can go ahead and input any AP or IB exam scores that you might have. So you want to go ahead and input the score that you received in there. If you only report non-passing scores, you may still need to send official score report to UC campuses after being admitted. So you should only, I always recommend just input the courses that you received a passing grade in, which is 3 or higher, because those are also going to be the only courses that you end up receiving credit for here if you do have AP or IB exams. Now, there is an activities and awards section on the UC application. I do want to mention some campuses will focus on both your academic performance, so your GPA, the units that you have, your requirements that you have, and some campuses are going to look at both the academic history and also your extracurricular activities. At UCSB specifically, we really focus on the academic portion. So this part right here is not going to weigh as heavily in the admissions process, but some of the other UC campuses are going to focus on both the combination of your activities, extracurriculars, and also your GPA and your academic performance as well. Now, in this section, we want to encourage students to focus on your activities post-high school. So anything you're doing right now, you can go ahead and put any work experiences, any achievements, any involvements you have at Berkeley City College. A good question is the activity and awards for high school as well, or just community college? So we recommend focusing on activities after high school, but if there is something that's like a really big achievement that you have from high school, you didn't attend high school that long ago, you can still feel free to input that in there. This information can add context to your academic history and also help award scholarships to certain campuses. So you want to make sure that you're inputting your activities and awards. These are just some descriptions of the category. So award or honor, educational preparation programs. If you're a student who was in EOPS, Puente, Trio, any program like that, you can input that into your activities and awards section. Volunteering or community service, you can input that as well, or work experience as well. So you want to make sure just that you're inputting the activities and awards that have been important to you and that you feel kind of will contribute to your application as well. Now, there is a scholarship section that has a pretty long list of boxes that you can check through. So you want to make sure that you go through this section carefully, read through each of them, and make sure that you're checking off all of the boxes that you're applying to. So right here, you can see the section is based on your academic major or interest. So if your academic major or interest is something like earth science, American Indian language or Chumash studies, environment and natural resources, um, make sure that you're clicking off the ones that apply to you, because that means that there could be a scholarship eligible that you might be eligible for at one of the UC campuses. So the UC application is also an application to different scholarships at different campuses. So this is your section where you can let us know which scholarships you might be eligible for. This section is not going to impact your chances of admissions. And this is just kind of opening you up to scholarships at different campuses. So you want to make sure that you're selecting all of the ones that do apply to you. Now here at UCSB, we have EOP, or the Educational Opportunity Program, which is a program for first generation or low income students going to university. So we can support students through that process, provide mentoring, counseling, social programming for students. So I do recommend making sure to check off the box that you're interested in EOP if you either qualify as a first generation or as an income eligible student. If you do select this box, it's just going to ask you why you're interested in EOP, and you can put something as simple as, I am the first in my family to attend college. I would like to receive some more counseling when I'm at UCSB. I would like to benefit from social programming from EOP. I would like some additional support, or I'm very motivated in my academics. This is what I want to do. So it doesn't have to be too lengthy. There is only a 240 character limit that you have. So it really doesn't have to be too long. But you do want to make sure that you're filling that out if you're interested in applying for EOP, and I do strongly recommend it to all first gen students. Now, if you are a current or former foster youth, there is different foster youth programs throughout the UC system. So there is also a section on that if you might be interested in those programs. I also strongly recommend that just because they can provide you some really awesome services. The program and eligibility might be a little bit different depending on the campus, but definitely we encourage you to take advantage of the resources that are available to you. All right, another question, is EOP a UCSB exclusive? There is other EOPs at different campuses, and there's also some campuses have a slightly different name for what their first gen program is. But here at UCSB's Educational Opportunity Program, other universities have other first gen student centers, so they do look slightly different at each campus. All right, going into the personal insight questions, or PIQ section, you're going to need to respond to 4 personal insight questions. One of the questions is a required question for transfer students, which is listed right here. Please describe how you prepare for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at university. So within this section, you can include why you're interested in that major, if you have any work experience that contributed to your interest in the major, if you maybe have had an internship, if there was a class that you really liked as a student, or research project that you did as a student. And then you want to include, I'm ready to take my upper division courses. This is what I would like to do with my degree once I graduate. So this is basically just we want to make sure that you're certain about your major and that you're ready to succeed in that major once you do transfer over. So that one is required. And then there's three other questions that you'll have the option to choose from. All of those three questions are going to be weighted equally. So there's different questions you're able to answer. Some of them are more revolved on like how have you contributed to your community? How do you express your creativity? So there's different questions that you can answer. So you want to make sure that you are answering the one that is most relevant to you, the one that you feel like you can really speak to and contribute to, because they are all weighted equally when we do review applications. Like I mentioned, some of the campuses we're going to focus on both extracurricular and academic information, and others may focus just on academic information. So for us, our review is really primarily focused on that academic preparation, but some of the other campuses might take into consideration and put more weight on the personal insight question section and the extracurricular section as well. There is an additional comment section for the personal insight question, and this is your chance to include any additional information that you have not stated elsewhere in the application. So this is not a part to extend your personal insight questions. You want to include if you didn't have the chance to, let us know about an unusual personal or family circumstance or anything that may be unclear in your UC application, you can put that in there, but just make sure this isn't a place to answer another one of the in-state questions that maybe you wanted to answer or restate something else that was in your application. This is just if there's anything that was left out or you feel you didn't have the chance to kind of address in the application, you can go ahead and leave that there. And then once it does come time to review and submit your application, you'll have a chance to go through the different sections and just verify that everything is accurate. This year it is going to be due on December 1st. Typically that deadline falls around November 30th, but December 1st is the Monday, so you'll have until December 1st, and you'll be able to submit anytime between October to December 1st. I definitely recommend trying to get it done sometime during the month of November so that you get a chance to review it a few times, maybe get it reviewed by a counselor or a staff at Berkeley City College. Always good to review it as much as you can. If you do qualify for that fee waiver, it's calculated automatically based on the information that you put in that family size and family income section. And you're going to know that you submitted successfully once you pay for your applications or receive an application ID number and an email confirmation. These are going to be some important dates and deadlines to keep in mind for this upcoming year. So like I mentioned, that transfer admissions planner, you're able to create that at any time to track and plan your progress. If you're interested in applying for the transfer admission guarantee, that application is only open from September 1st to September 30th. You're only able to submit a transfer admission guarantee to one campus out of the 6 that offer tag. So you want to make sure that you're not missing that deadline. And you'll be able to submit your UC application anytime from October 1st up until December 1st as well. Now, our transfer academic update, or the TAU, that's basically where you're going to be updating us on your fall final grades once you do receive those grades, and any changes that you might have made to your what you put on the UC application. Usually that's due on January 31st, but this upcoming year it is going to be extended to March 15th. But I do recommend as soon as you have your fall final grades posted, just go ahead and update the transfer academic update so you don't lose sight of that deadline. Some campuses will be nice and send you reminders, and some campuses may not be so nice and not send you a reminder. So you just want to make sure as soon as you have those fall final grades, submit that transfer academic update. And for most campuses, we do release our transfer admissions decisions mid-April, so you'll be able to know if you've been admitted to a specific campus and go ahead and move forward with your steps to enrollment. I will go ahead and leave this screen up here. This is just some contacts that you're able to take advantage of. If you do have any problems with the UC application, I'll also go ahead and type in our admissions email at UCSB. You could always contact our email, or you can also check out our admissions website for any information. But that is all that I have, all the information that I have for today. So I'll go ahead and just stay present for any questions that are left over. And I see we have one here from Julian. Where do we submit tag? Is that through the TAP account? Yes, very good question. So if you want to do the tag, you want to make sure that you're submitting through the transfer admissions planner anytime from September 1st to September 30th. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for joining. All right, any other questions?
There was a question earlier regarding the timeout, the 20-minute timeout on the application. The student wanted to know if that could be changed.
I am not sure if that can be changed. I wouldn't be sure. I would have to look into that and get back to you, but I think typically it's just kind of an automatic thing where you can either like move the mouse or make sure that you're kind of making progress on it, or you can also just save and close it as often as you want to.
Cool, cool, cool. I
Yeah.
think the student already left, but
Okay.
I'll reach out and let them know. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I was wondering, is there a place where I could upload a art portfolio?
Yeah, so we don't take any supplemental information for the general UC application unless you're applying for like a special major or a special program at one campus, at one of the campuses. So for us, if you would be applying for our art in the College of Creative Studies, there is an additional application on top of the UC application where some students do submit like a portfolio. But just for the general UC application, it's just going to be that the UC application, no additional information. So really, it's just depending on the campus that you apply to and the specific major. Some of them might ask for additional information, but if not, there won't be any place to put an art portfolio.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Um, I went to UCLA a long time ago, and I've been taking classes at BCC. At one point, I was told that I have too many units. Is that true? Can you have too many, like surpass senior level?
Yeah, so with UC credit, with a combination of UC credit and community college credit, you can potentially go into what we would consider a senior level transfer student. Um,
Okay, so you can go over. It's just that you may not have as many options as to where you can go.
yeah, so I believe there may be a few campuses that take senior level transfer students. I would need to double check that just because I don't want to give misinformation. Um, but at least for UCSB, unfortunately, you wouldn't be eligible if you're in the senior level transfer.
Do they ever make exceptions? Like, can you write a letter to somebody about that?
Typically, no. At
No.
least from what I have seen with students who are senior level transfer, it's unfortunately just that the requirements are not met.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right. Any other questions? Thank you all. Is the transfer update application provided in the same place that we fill out the general UC application? Yes, so you'll be able to access that through there. And once you submit the application, you'll start getting emails about like updates, where to update your information. So it is going to be through the UC application. And you just want to make sure you're submitting that. Once you have your fall final grades, make sure to submit the transfer academic update as soon as you can. All right, any other questions? Okay, is it possible to have too many community college units if I'm transferring as a freshman? So you would, at least here, you can only transfer as a junior level transfer student. So you would have already had to start community college after you graduated high school. And you would have to have at least 60 semester units. There's no way to have too many community college units. If you have, you can have as many as 100 community college units, 200 community college units if you want to. If it's just community college units, you'll always be in junior level transfer. You only have to worry about being in senior level transfer if you've previously attended a UC campus or if you have any upper division university credit. But just community college, you'll be completely fine. How do I get started on my TAP? So to get started on the TAP, I think it was linked up above. It's pretty simple. You'll just create the account. We actually do have a really informative YouTube channel with tutorials on there. Let me go ahead and link that before I go. But we do have a tutorial on there that you can feel free to check out. You see TAP. Awesome. All right, so I linked our YouTube channel, and on there we do have in-depth tutorials on creating a TAP account, submitting your transfer admission guarantee, and also some tutorials on the UC application as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for today's session, Jessica. This was really, really informative. Again, thanks for being here, y'all. We hope that y'all were able to learn a lot from this application overview. And if you have any questions, like Jessica said, there she has her email on there. You can contact UCSB admissions, and you can also contact us at BCC HSI, and we'll be able to support you with this process. But yeah, with that, thank you so much for coming. And again, thank you, Jessica. And that's it for today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.